Tonight, we leave the modern world behind for the quiet of the Middle Ages. Close your eyes and listen. Backslash, and you are back in time, safe and warm. Let the story begin. Backslash, and you wake to the gray light that seeps through the small, thick pane of glass in your chamber. A light the color of unbleached linen or old parchment. You do not stir immediately. You lie there, safe and warm beneath the woolen blanket, and listen to the world that is quiet. The only sound is the slow, distant rhythm of the sea against the stone keys of Abydos, a patient, metronomic sigh that has not ceased for centuries. The air in your room is cool and carries the faint, dry scent of dust and the papyrus scrolls you brought home to review, a smell like old straw and forgotten corridors. Your movements are deliberate as you rise, the wooden floorboards smooth and grainy under your bare feet. You dress in the dimness, the linen of your tunic soft from many washings, the wool of your over-tunic slightly scratchy against your wrists. Each button is a small, familiar task, a loop of thread over a horn toggle. You pour water from the clay jug into the basin. The water is cold, a sharp clarity on your face that blurs the lingering edges of sleep. You dry your skin with a rough cloth, the texture a pleasant abrasion, a grounding ritual. The world is quiet. The walk to the customs house is a procession of cobblestones and murmurs. Your sandals whisper against the worn stone, a soft, repetitive shush, shush, shush. You pass the bakery, and the dense, warm, yeasty smell of bread baking wraps around you, a tangible cloud in the cool morning air. You hear the low thump of dough being kneaded inside, a rhythmic, fleshy sound. A cart rumbles by in the distance, its wooden wheels producing a low, rolling thunder that fades slowly, absorbed by the mist hanging over the harbor. You do not hurry. Your pace is the pace of the incoming tide, inevitable and slow. You enter the customs house, and the smell changes. Here, the air is permanently infused with the odor of papyrus and ink, of dust, and the faint, sweet resinous smell of sealing wax. It is a smell of stillness and record-keeping. Your sandals now scuff against the fine layer of dust on the stone floor, a sound like gentle sanding. You take your place at the high wooden desk, its surface scarred and darkened by generations of styli and ink pots. You feel the smooth, cool grain of the wood under your palms as you settle. The world is quiet, save for the distant, muffled cries from the docks, mere suggestions of sound. Your first task is to prepare your tools, a peaceful, repetitive ordering. You lift the bronze abacus, its rods smooth and cool, the beads making a soft, clacking music as you slide them all to one side, a series of tidy wooden clicks. You arrange your styli in their groove, their sharpened ends all pointing the same way, like soldiers at rest. You open the silk codex, the parchment pages crackling faintly, a dry leaf sound, and you lay the heavy lead weights on its corners to keep it flat. You breathe in the scent of aged parchment and ink. You are safe and warm in your sphere of numbers and rules. The first manifest of the day is placed before you, a scroll of papyrus that crackles as you unroll it. The script is a neat, bureaucratic Greek, listing bales of Serindian silk. You take your stylus and your wax tablet, the wax pale and blank. The tip of the stylus makes a gentle, whispering scrape as you note the manifest number. The process begins. You walk to the first bale, its coarse hemp wrapping rough under your fingertips. You cut the cord with a small, sharp knife, the fibers parting with a soft, tearing sigh. You fold back the wrapping to reveal the silk beneath. Here, the tactile world deepens. The silk is cool and impossibly smooth, a cascade of liquid white. You take the magnifying lens of polished rock crystal, its handle worn smooth by countless hands. You bend close, your breath stirring the dust motes in the thin beam of sunlight from the high window. You count the weave threads per inch, a methodical, silent tally. 1, 2, 3. The lens moves minutely, a tiny world of intersecting fibers filling your vision. Your stylus scratches the number onto the wax, a slow, grating whisper that is the loudest sound in the room. You compare the count to the entry in the silk codex, your finger tracing down the column of numbers, a faint rasp of skin on parchment. It matches. You breathe in the scent of the silk itself, a faint, clean odor of faraway mulberry groves, almost lost under the stronger smells of hemp and dust. Next, the imperial crucible. You take the heavy document, the parchment stiff, the wax seal at its bottom a solid, red pool impressed with the Emperor's image. You feel its contours with your thumb, checking for the precise depth of the impression, the smoothness of the wax. It is genuine. You note this with another scratch of the stylus. The calculations come next. You move to the abacus. The value of the bale, translated into solidi, becomes a dance of beads. Each bead you slide across its rod makes a soft, definitive talk. 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 The sound is rhythmic, mathematical, a quiet music of addition. You calculate the Commercian, the 10% tariff. You slide more beads. Talk. Talk. The final figure is recorded on the wax tablet with more slow, careful scratching. You roll the silk back into its hemp, your hands performing the familiar folds, and you tie a new cord, the rough fibers twisting under your fingers. a slightly abrasive sensation that tells you the knot is secure. You return to your desk. A shaft of sunlight has moved, now illuminating a different patch of dust on the floor. You sit. You look at the wax tablet, the figures neat and temporary. You will transfer them to the permanent papyrus ledger later, a task of slow, inky carefulness. For now, you simply look. The morning stretches ahead, identical to 1,000 mornings before it. There are more bales. There will be spices later, their sense of pepper and cinnamon briefly overwhelming the dust. There will be amber, smooth and warm as solidified honey in your palm. But for this moment, there is only the completed tally for one bale of white Serindian silk. The stylus rests in the groove. The abacus beads are still. The dust motes turn in the sunbeam. The distant sea sighs. You breathe in the smell of papyrus and wax and time itself, which moves only in the increments of tallies and tides. The world is quiet, and you are here, safe and warm within the endless, tranquil arithmetic of empire. The early light of morning, filtered through the high, arched windows of the Abydos customs house, cast long, quiet shadows across the worn flagstones of your office floor. A familiar pattern of illumination that shifted with the slow, deliberate climb of the sun. You settled into your heavy, wooden chair, the polished oak cool and solid beneath your hands as you adjusted the stack of fresh papyrus scrolls on your desk. Their faint, reedy scent mingling with the dry, ancient smell of dust and old parchment that perpetually clung to the air within these thick stone walls. The distant, muted cries of gulls wheeled far above the Dardanelles, a gentle, repetitive sound that drifted through the open archway, a soft backdrop to the quiet rhythm of the coming day. And the world outside felt distant, safe, and immensely calm. Your fingers, accustomed to the delicate dance of bureaucracy, smoothed the first manifest unrolled before you, its surface slightly rough and absorbent, the deep black ink of the scribe's careful script stark against the pale, fibrous material. This particular scroll heralded a shipment of Serindian silk, its origin noted with precise flourishes, and you reached for the imperial crucible, its heavy, golden seal cool and surprisingly smooth against your palm, the intricate imperial device reassuringly familiar to your touch. You traced the raised design of the Emperor's profile with a thoughtful fingertip, feeling the subtle indentations of the wax, ensuring its integrity against the known parameters of authentic imperial decrees. A quiet, almost meditative ritual performed countless times before, deep within the still morning. The first bale of silk, hauled by a pair of silent porters, was carefully positioned just beyond the threshold of your inner sanctum, its rough, woven sacking smelling faintly of sea salt and distant lands, a sturdy cocoon for the precious cargo within. You approached it with a measured gait, your senses already attuned to the task, and with a practiced motion, You severed a few carefully selected threads of the outer binding, the coarse fibers yielding with a faint, dry snap. Gently, you parted the layers of protective cloth, revealing the lustrous cascade of raw silk, its surface shimmering softly in the filtered light, emitting a delicate, almost imperceptible fragrance that hinted at faraway processing, a whisper of mulberry leaves and careful hands. You retrieved your finely honed bone stylus and the official silk codex, its pages thick and yellowed with age, the parchment smooth and cool as you turned to the relevant section, its exquisite miniature illustrations depicting various weave patterns and quality grades. With meticulous care, you extracted a small, representative sample of the silk, its fine threads almost weightless between your thumb and forefinger, feeling the subtle, cool slide of the fabric across your skin, assessing its pliability and uniformity. Holding it to the light, you began the precise, repetitive task of counting the individual warp and weft threads, your eyes focusing intently, your breath a soft, steady rhythm, ensuring the weave count aligned perfectly with the standards prescribed for this particular grade of Serindian export, a serene and utterly engrossing endeavor. Each meticulous count, each tactile assessment against the Codex's precise descriptions, built a quiet satisfaction, a small triumph of order over potential discrepancy. And the world outside the thick walls of your office continued its slow, indifferent turning. You then reached for your abacus, its polished wooden frame warm and smooth beneath your hand, the small, dark beads clicking softly as you began to calculate the Commercian the exact 10% tariff due to the imperial coffers. The rhythmic slide and tap of the beads, a gentle, percussive song, filled the quiet air, accompanying the soft scratching of your stylus as you transcribed the figures onto a small, fresh wax tablet, the warm, soft wax yielding easily to the point of the bone, holding the temporary record with quiet certainty. Later, the low, murmuring tones of Persian and Armenian merchants drifted in from the antechamber, their voices a soft, indistinct hum, like the distant buzzing of well-fed bees, their discussions in broken Greek punctuated by quiet gestures you could sense rather than see. You heard the rustle of their own manifests, the soft clink of their coins, but these sounds remained outside your immediate sphere, held at bay by the quiet sanctity of your precise work. Your focus remained steadfastly on the intricate details before you, the subtle variations in the sheen of the silk, the precise alignment of the woven threads, the careful balance of the abacus beads, each movement a testament to the unchanging order of your daily routine, a repetitive and deeply comforting dance of bureaucratic diligence. The next shipment awaited, this time a consignment of spices from distant India, and the moment the bale was brought forth, a rich, complex aroma, a blend of warm cinnamon, pungent pepper, and exotic cloves, immediately permeated the air, replacing the delicate scent of silk with a bolder, more assertive fragrance. You approached the coarse sacking, its rough texture familiar, and carefully cut into its layers, revealing the vibrant, earthy treasures within. Your fingers dipped into the loose spices, feeling the coarse grains of peppercorns, the smooth, woody fragments of cinnamon bark, the delicate, star-shaped pods of anise, each sensation a distinct connection to faraway lands, yet brought here to this quiet room for your calm inspection. With the same deliberate precision, you verified the accompanying crucible, its golden seal reflecting the diffused light, its parchment cool and slightly crisp beneath your fingertips. Then, using a small, polished brass scoop, you carefully transferred a sample of each spice onto a clean sheet of papyrus, spreading them out with a gentle touch. Your eyes, trained to discern the subtle nuances, scanned for impurities, for any deviation from the expected color or texture. A visual and tactile examination conducted with serene focus, ensuring the quality matched the official imperial classifications. The air around you grew thick with the warm, intoxicating scents, a fragrant cloud that swirled gently in the still atmosphere, the world feeling safe and immensely calm. Again, the abacus beads clicked softly, a steady, hypnotic rhythm, as you calculated the Commercian for the spices, the numbers accumulating with methodical grace, each calculation a small, satisfying completion. The stylus scratched its familiar song on the wax tablet, adding another line of figures to the growing ledger of the day, a tangible record of imperial revenue flowing through this vital choke point. The distant calls of dockworkers, now perhaps carrying a hint of the afternoon's weariness, drifted in, their voices softened by the stone, a constant, unobtrusive reminder of the bustling world beyond your quiet, parchment-scented realm. As the day progressed, a shipment of Baltic amber arrived, its manifest bearing a different seal, a distinct crucible for the northern trade routes. The amber itself, presented in small, cloth-lined wooden crates, felt smooth and surprisingly light, cool to the touch, its polished surfaces catching the filtered light, revealing deep golden depths and ancient, trapped moats. You ran your fingers over the varied pieces, assessing their clarity, their size, their subtle imperfections, each piece a small, polished testament to geological time. Another unique item passing through your careful scrutiny, another quiet task to be completed. The final calculations of the day began to accumulate, a growing stack of wax tablets beside your inkwell, each one a testament to the meticulous work performed, each Commercian dutifully noted. The gentle pressure of your stylus on the final tablet felt like the soft closing of a book, a quiet punctuation mark at the end of a long, deliberate sentence. The risk of a miscalculated tariff, the potential oversight of a counterfeit seal, remained a distant, theoretical possibility, a quiet undertone to the immense bureaucratic weight of your position. But your diligent, repetitive actions, your unwavering focus on the tangible details, ensured that such anxieties rarely touched the surface of your calm, measured day. As the sun began its slow descent, painting the upper reaches of the customs house walls with a softer, more golden light, the sounds from the docks grew fainter, the air settling into a deeper stillness. You carefully stacked the verified manifests, their papyrus surfaces now bearing your official seals, a tangible record of another day's quiet, essential work. The scent of old parchment and spices lingered in the air, a comforting blend, and you surveyed your desk, now clear of the day's burdens, feeling the quiet satisfaction of a routine meticulously followed, errors avoided, and imperial order maintained. The world around you was peaceful and immensely calm, the slow, steady rhythm of Abydos drifting into the quiet embrace of the encroaching evening. The afternoon sun leans heavily against the thick stone walls of the Abydos customs house, casting long, rectangular bars of honey-colored light across your scarred wooden desk. Here, in the quiet heart of the Empire's great choke point, the world narrows down to the rhythmic scratch of a reed stylus and the dry, comforting scent of aged papyrus. You are the sekretikos, the silent observer of the world as well, and your day is measured not in hours, but in the steady, glacial progression of cargo manifests and the soft clicking of abacus beads. Outside, the Hellespont churns with the movement of tides, but inside this cool, shadowed chamber, the air is still and heavy with the smell of beeswax, old ink, and the faint, lingering ghosts of 1,000 different spices. You reach out, your fingers brushing the rough edge of a new scroll, feeling the slight vibration of the harbor's distant activity through the floorboards, a low hum that only serves to deepen the profound silence of your office. Before you lies a bale of silk, recently offloaded from a drama that has traveled the long, sun-drenched routes from the east. You lean forward, the movement slow and deliberate, and place your hand upon the fabric. It is cool to the touch, almost like water held in a state of impossible stillness, and its surface ripples with a luster that seems to trap the afternoon light. You consult the Imperial Silk Codex, a heavy volume bound in cracked leather that rests permanently at your elbow. The pages are thick and yellow, smelling of cedar oil and thyme. You turn them one by one, the sound a soft, rhythmic shushing that mirrors the breath of the sea outside. You are looking for the specific weave count mandated for Serindian imports. Your eyes move slowly across the text, tracing the calligraphy until you find the corresponding entry. Then, with a silver-tipped magnifying glass, you begin the task of counting the threads in a single square inch of the shimmering cloth. It is a slow process, a meditative counting that draws your focus down into the very microscopic landscape of the fiber. 1, 2, 3. The numbers form a silent litany in your mind, grounding you in the physical reality of the work. The world is quiet, and you are safe within the tiny, intricate geography of the weave. The merchants wait in the outer vestibule, their voices reduced to a low, unintelligible murmur that drifts through the heavy oak door like the buzzing of distant bees. You hear the occasional clink of a coin or the rustle of a heavy caftan, but these sounds are distant and unimportant. Your world is here, on the surface of your desk. You pick up your stylus, the wood smooth and darkened by the oils of your skin, and press it into the surface of a fresh wax tablet. The wax is a pale, creamy yellow, smelling faintly of the summer meadows where the bees once wandered. As you record the thread count, the stylus makes a soft, satisfying fur, a tiny architectural labor that documents the legitimacy of the Empire-esque trade. There is no rush. The sun moves a fraction of a degree across the floor. A single dust mote dances in a shaft of light, rising and falling in an invisible current. You watch it for a moment, letting your breath slow to match its aimless, peaceful drift. Next to the silk sits a small, iron-bound chest, containing amber from the distant, cold shores of the Baltic. You lift the lid, the hinges giving a tiny, dry protest that punctuates the silence. Inside, the resinous stones glow like trapped embers. You take one out, rolling it between your thumb and forefinger. It is surprisingly light, and as it warms against your skin, it releases a faint, prehistoric scent of pine forests and ancient earth. You hold it up to the light, looking for the clarity required by the customs law. The amber is a deep, translucent orange, and within its depths, you see a tiny, suspended bubble of air. A pocket of nothingness that has remained unchanged for an eternity. You record its weight on your abacus, the wooden beads sliding along their brass rods with a series of muted, rhythmic clicks. Talk. Talk, talk. Talk. The sound is a language of its own, a mathematical music that balances the scales of the world. You calculate the Kammerkiin, the 10% tariff that belongs to the emperor, with a sense of quiet satisfaction. The math is absolute. It is a source of order in a vast and shifting world. A Persian merchant enters the room to present his credentials. He moves with a slow, heavy grace, his presence announced by the scent of saffron and dried rose petals that clings to his robes. He does not speak, for he knows the ritual of this place. He lays a crucible upon your desk, an imperial document of trade privilege, heavy with the weight of its golden seal. You take the document, the parchment feeling thick and slightly oily under your fingertips. The gold seal is a dull, soft yellow, impressed with the image of the emperor on his throne. You run your finger over the raised edges of the seal, verifying the sharpness of the strike and the purity of the metal. It is cool and heavy, a physical manifestation of law and stability. You compare it to the master stamp kept in your velvet-lined drawer, looking for the minute details that distinguish the true from the false. The lines of the scepter, the curve of the crown, every detail is a point of stillness in your mind. You find no fault. The seal is authentic. You dip your quill into the inkwell, the dark fluid clinging to the nib in a perfect, trembling bead, and sign your name at the bottom of the manifest. The ink is black and glossy, smelling of oak gall and iron, and as it soaks into the parchment, you feel a sense of completion. The afternoon deepens, the gold of the sun turning to a soft, bruised purple in the corners of the room. The air grows cooler, carrying the scent of the evening tide and the smoke from the dockworkers' small cook fires. You turn your attention to a crate of spices from the Malabar coast. As you pry open the lid with a small iron tool, a cloud of aromatic dust rises into the air. It is a complex, heavy scent clove, cardamom, and the sharp, biting heat of black pepper. It settles on your tongue, a ghost of a flavor from a world you will never see, yet one that you know intimately through its exports. You measure the spices using a set of bronze weights, each one polished to a dull shine. The weights sit in your palm with a comforting density, their values engraved in neat Greek characters. You balance the scales, watching the needle flicker back and forth before coming to rest in perfect alignment. The world is in balance. The cargo is tallied. The empire is sustained by these small, repetitive acts of precision. You lean back in your chair, the wood creaking softly beneath you. Your hands are stained with the faint gray shadow of ink and the yellow dust of the spice crates, a map of your afternoon-s labors. The shadows have stretched across the entire floor now, reaching the far wall where the empty scrolls are kept in their neat, cubicle pigeonholes. The cries of the dockworkers have faded, replaced by the rhythmic lapping of the water against the stone quays. You close your eyes for a moment, listening to the silence of the office. It is a thick, textured silence, woven from the scent of wax, the weight of gold, and the memory of distant lands. You are the sekretikos, the keeper of the gate, and in this quiet room, under the watchful eye of the fading sun, everything is exactly as it should be. The ledgers are full, the seals are true, and the world remains steady and slow. You take a deep, slow breath, tasting the salt air and the old paper, and prepare to roll the final scroll of the day, your movements fluid and calm in the gathering twilight. The faint scent of old papyrus and dried ink settled like a fine dust upon the air around you. A familiar comfort in the Abydos customs house as the afternoon light, now softening to a hazy gold, began its slow retreat from the high, narrow windows. You sat at your heavy oak desk, its surface worn smooth by countless hands and the persistent friction of documents, your fingers tracing the cool, polished grain of the wood before resting upon a stack of manifests, their edges slightly frayed from travel across distant seas and dusty caravan routes. The world outside, beyond the thick stone walls, offered only the muted, rhythmic clang of a distant hammer from the shipyards, a sound that seemed to stretch and dissipate into the quiet hum of your own meticulous work, safe and warm within your quiet corner. A new bale of Serindian silk. Its woven surface a deep, lustrous crimson awaited your inspection. Its presence a solid, silent block of color against the pale, bleached wood of the floor. You reached out a slow, deliberate hand, your fingertips brushing against the tightly packed fibers, feeling the subtle give and resilience of the fabric beneath your touch, a sensation that spoke of careful craftsmanship and long journeys. The air, thick with the lingering aroma of the previous spice shipment, a ghost of cardamom and black pepper, now seemed to absorb the faint, clean scent of the silk itself, a dry, almost imperceptible fragrance that hinted at faraway lands and meticulous handling. You picked up the official silk codex, its leather binding supple and familiar in your grasp, the weight of its pages a reassuring presence as you slowly turned to the section detailing the expected weave counts for imperial-grade shipments, the dry rustle of the parchment, a gentle whisper in the still room. Your eyes, accustomed to the minute details of fabric, began their slow, deliberate journey across the silk-esque surface. You leaned closer, your breath stirring the tiny motes of dust that danced in the last shafts of sunlight, your gaze focusing on a small, precisely unraveled section of the bale. With the aid of a finely ground magnifying lens, its cool, smooth rim resting against your thumb, you began the quiet, repetitive task of counting the threads. Your attention narrowed to the intricate lattice of warp and weft. Each individual strand, so delicate yet so strong, passed beneath your patient scrutiny, an almost meditative rhythm settling over your movements. The distant, barely audible murmur of Armenian merchants outside, discussing their next cargo in a low, guttural cadence, served only as a soft, indistinct backdrop to the quiet precision of your count, a gentle reminder of the world continuing beyond your immediate, focused bubble. Once the weave count was meticulously verified against the codex, a process that consumed a significant stretch of quiet time, you moved to assess the overall quality, your fingers once again caressing the fabric, feeling for any inconsistencies in tension or dye, any subtle flaw that might deviate from the exacting imperial standards. The silk, cool and smooth against your skin, seemed to absorb the warmth of your touch as you carefully unfolded a corner, allowing the material to drape over your arm, its weight a soft, pleasing presence. You then turned your attention to the accompanying crucible, the gold-sealed imperial document that granted special trade privileges. Its parchment, thicker and more substantial than a common manifest, felt crisp and slightly cool in your hands, the embossed imperial eagle upon the golden seal a testament to its authority. You ran a careful thumb over the wax, feeling the minute imperfections, the subtle ridges and valleys of the seal, comparing it against the mental image of hundreds of similar seals you had authenticated over the years. A deeply ingrained pattern recognition that required no conscious thought, only a quiet, steady assurance. The calculation of the comma key, the 10% tariff, followed with the same unhurried precision. You reached for your abacus, the polished wooden beads smooth and cool beneath your fingertips as you slid them along their rods with practiced ease. Each click and gentle clatter of the beads was a small, satisfying sound, a rhythmic counterpoint to the scratching of your stylus on the wax tablet beside you. The figures, drawn from the manifest and your own careful assessment, slowly took shape under your hand, the soft, yielding resistance of the wax a familiar tactile sensation. The air continued to carry the faint, dry scent of the customs house, a blend of old wood, parchment, and a hint of something metallic from the scales in the corner, as you meticulously cross-referenced each sum, ensuring absolute accuracy. A miscalculated tariff, a missed counterfeit seal. These were the quiet, ever-present specters that hovered at the edges of your awareness, not as a source of sudden fear, but as a slow, persistent pressure, a constant hum beneath the surface of your tasks, ensuring your unwavering focus. A shipment of spices from India was next, their pungent, exotic aromas already mingling with the more subdued scents of the office. The tightly bound Hessian sacks, rough and coarse beneath your touch, released a cloud of fine, fragrant dust as you carefully unsealed them. The air grew thick with the sharp, sweet tang of cinnamon, the earthy warmth of cumin, and the complex, peppery notes of an unknown blend, each inhalation a journey to distant, sun-drenched lands. You plunged your hand into a sack of what appeared to be dried ginger root, the gnarled pieces firm and dry against your palm, their sharp, spicy scent clinging to your skin. Verifying the quality meant a visual inspection for impurities, a careful assessment of color and texture, and an experienced sniff of the sample, your nose a well-honed instrument for discerning authenticity and freshness. The distant, almost imperceptible lapping of waves against the Abydos shore, carried on a gentle evening breeze, served as a quiet reminder of the vast distances these goods had traveled to reach your careful hands. The amber from the Baltic arrived in smaller wooden crates, their rough-hewn surfaces splintering against your fingers. Inside, nestled in straw, lay the fossilized resin, its various shades of golden brown and honey glowing softly in the fading light. You picked up a piece, its smooth, cool surface warming slowly beneath your touch, its ancient scent faint but distinct, a subtle, resinous sweetness, a whisper of pine forests long turned to stone. Each piece was weighed, its clarity and color assessed, and its accompanying document, another chrysalis, verified with the same quiet scrutiny as the silk. The low, rhythmic creak of the customs house door as a weary dockworker passed by, carrying an empty crate, was the only break in the deep quiet, a sound that quickly faded, leaving you once more immersed in the tranquil repetition of your duties. Time in this dusty, parchment-scented office stretched and flowed with a slow, unhurried pace, measured not by the turning of a sundial outside, but by the steady accumulation of cargo tallies and the gradual diminishing of the stack of uninspected manifests. Your stylus continued its soft, rhythmic scratching on the wax tablet, each completed calculation a tiny, satisfying mark of progress. The distant cries of dock workers, once a bustling clamor, had softened to an occasional, drawn-out call, echoing less frequently across the water as the evening deepened. You moved from bale to crate, from manifest to abacus, each action a familiar, comforting ritual performed with a quiet, unwavering focus. The pressure was indeed bureaucratic, immense in its quiet omnipresence, a constant, low thrum beneath the surface of your skin, a silent guarantee that every count was correct, every seal authentic, every figure precise. But this pressure, rather than causing turmoil, merely sharpened your senses, deepening your absorption in the tranquil, repetitive flow of your work, making the world around you narrow to the precise movements of your hands and the quiet hum of your own steady breathing, safe and warm in the gathering quiet. You sit at your wooden desk in the customs house at Abydos, where the afternoon light filters through narrow windows and falls in pale strips across your counting table. The air is thick with the smell of dried papyrus and beeswax, mingling with the distant salt tang of the strait beyond the stone walls. Your fingers rest on the smooth surface of your wax tablet, still warm from the morning's calculations, and you can feel the faint impressions of numbers you scratched there hours ago, now smoothed over and ready for new figures. The world is quiet here, measured only in the weight of silk veils and the scratch of your bronze stylus. Before you lies a manifest written in careful Greek letters, the ink slightly faded at the edges where many hands have touched the papyrus. You lift it slowly, feeling its texture between your thumb and forefinger, noting the slight roughness where the reed fibers cross and overlap. The document lists 43 bales of raw silk from Serindia, each one requiring your inspection, your notation, your calculation of the comma key. You set the papyrus down again, aligning its edge with the grain of your desk, and reach for the first wax seal that accompanies the shipment. The seal is cool and heavy in your palm, stamped with imperial symbols you have memorized through years of handling such documents. You turn it slowly in the dusty light, checking for the telltale signs of authenticity. The depth of the impression, the quality of the wax, the precise rendering of the double-headed eagle. Everything is as it should be. The world is quiet and orderly. The merchant who brought these papers stands at a respectful distance, his woolen robes dusty from travel, his breathing slow and patient in the stillness of your office. You do not look at him directly, but sense his presence as you might sense a column or a wall, something solid and unmoving in your peripheral awareness. He has been here before, this Armenian trader whose name you have recorded in your ledgers dozens of times. His broken Greek drifts through your consciousness like smoke, soft sounds about roads and caravans and the quality of this season's thread, but you need not respond. Your work continues at its own pace, unhurried and methodical, each step following the one before as naturally as breath follows breath. You rise from your desk, feeling the familiar stiffness in your knees from sitting, and walk across the stone floor to where the bales await inspection in the adjoining chamber. Your footsteps echo softly in the vaulted space, and you can hear the distant cries of dock workers loading ships at the waterfront, their voices muffled and dreamlike through the thick walls. The first bale sits on a wooden platform, wrapped in oiled canvas that crackles slightly as you fold it back. Beneath lies the silk, wound carefully onto wooden spindles, each thread catching the light with a subtle sheen. You run your fingers across the fabric, feeling for the weave count, the texture that tells you grade and origin. The silk is cool and impossibly smooth against your skin, finer than anything produced in the Empire's own workshops. You count the threads carefully, your lips moving silently with the numbers, 42 per finger's width, which matches the manifest's claim. Safe and correct, the world continues in its proper order. You return to your desk and lift your stylus, feeling its familiar weight, the way it fits into the groove your fingers have worn over countless days of record keeping. The wax tablet accepts your marks with quiet resistance, each number forming slowly as you press the bronze tip through the soft surface. 10% of the declared value, calculated against the current exchange rate for numismata, adjusted for the season, and the quality grade you have just verified. The mathematics unfolds in your mind like a well-traveled path, each step known and certain. You work through the figures twice, then a third time, because accuracy is everything in this quiet room where your career rests on the precision of your arithmetic. The stylus scratches on, a sound as soothing as rain on roof tiles, marking time in tiny increments of brass against wax. The afternoon deepens around you, the light shifting by degrees too small to notice in any single moment. Yet gradually, the strips of sun on your desk grow longer and more golden. You move to the second bale, then the third, your movements becoming a kind of meditation, a ritual of inspection and notation that requires no thought beyond the immediate task. Each length of silk passes through your hands like water, cool and whispering against your palms. You check seals and compare them to the imperial codex that sits always at your left hand, its pages worn soft as fabric from years of consultation. The codex smells of old vellum and the particular mustiness of books kept in stone buildings near the sea. Everything matches, everything aligns, and you record this alignment in careful Greek letters that will be filed away in the archives. One more layer of documentation in the endless accumulation of the Empire's commercial memory. A small brazier burns in the corner of your office, keeping the air just warm enough that the wax in your tablets remains workable, and you can smell the faint sweetness of the charcoal mixed with the omnipresent scent of papyrus. Your back aches slightly from bending over the bales, and you straighten slowly, feeling each vertebra settle into place. The world is measured and calm. There are still 27 bales to inspect before the day ends, and you will inspect them all, one after another, in the same careful manner, because this is your work and your duty. And there is a deep peace in the repetition, in the certainty of procedure, in the quiet accumulation of verified cargo and calculated tariffs. Safe and methodical, the afternoon continues its gentle descent toward evening, and your stylus scratches on. Golden light, now slanted, stretches across the heavy oak desk, picking out the faint grain of the report. Dust motes drift lazily in the quiet air. A faint hum of bees from the window herb garden, their day's work winding down, mingles with the distant clop of a horse's hooves on the cobblestone street. The scent of lavender and chamomile wafts gently, a calm balm to your restless thoughts. Outside, a blackbird sings its evening song, a sweet serenade to the setting sun. The parchment under your stylus is filled with neat, orderly script, a testament to your steady hand and focused mind. The tower clock chimes softly, a gentle reminder that the day is slowly slipping away, making room for the peaceful embrace of the